The Switch 2 came out about 2 weeks ago, and it received a Yakuza 0 remaster on day one that boasts the best performing Yakuza 0 on any console with 4K 60 FPS, 25 minutes of new cutscenes, and a whole new online game mode. This was so cool to see, as Yakuza 0 just turned 10 this year, so to have that acknowledged in this way was really nice to see. However, when the game came out and the cutscenes were released, they were very controversial within the Yakuza community. Now, I got my Switch 2 a few days ago, and I just had to see for myself what this release is all about and see whether it's worth the buy or not. So before I go into the game itself, I feel like I have to talk about the price tag. This game is retailing for $49.99, and the physical release is on a game key card. What this means is that if you buy the game physically, the game data is not on the card, so you have to download the full game to play it. I personally think that the new content doesn't really justify $50 even before I paid for it. And this is especially the case considering the base game very consistently goes on sale for about $5. I think something in the $30 range would have been more fitting and would have had more people trying the game out. But for $50, I mean, I'd expect to have the game data on the cartridge, especially when a game like Cyberpunk 2077 has all of its data right on the cartridge ready to play. Now for the game itself, just as advertised, the performance is incredible and is the best way to play on console. Obviously, PC will always be the best performing, but to have this gameplay on effortless 4K 60 docked is really cool. I think having 120 FPS support on handheld would have been cool to have, but the 60 FPS still does the job for handheld. And that's another big selling point for this release in my opinion. Having the whole game handheld is so good. Because I feel like Yakuza 0 is the kind of game where you could pick it up for a little bit and then put it back down. There aren't any changes to the gameplay, and I'm glad because the gameplay is perfect as it is and still stands as one of the best Yakuza games in terms of gameplay to this day. Now onto the online game mode, Red Light Raid. It's pretty much a Yakuza arcade game where you just fight waves of enemies on a timer, and the goal is to clear all the stages of a level before the timer runs out. The coolest part about this mode is that you can play as any of the characters in the game and more. But that leads to my biggest critique, which is that the characters don't feel different enough to just Kiryu and Majima's fighting styles. Obviously, I didn't expect them to rework every boss's moveset to be more advanced just for this game mode, but I did expect a little bit more. Another issue with this game mode is that you kind of need to play online to clear a level. The CPU you get are always going to be level 1 and just absolutely useless. This wouldn't be a problem except for the fact that matchmaking is locked at about 30 seconds. And if you don't find anyone within that 30 seconds, you just get queued in with 3 CPUs. In my experiencing of queuing about 10 or 20 times, I got put in a game with another person about 5 times. And it was always just me, one other person, and 2 CPUs. And this is 2 weeks after launch, so I can only imagine how much worse it's gonna get as time goes on. Overall, this mode is fun, but it's not really a game-selling mode. I wouldn't buy this Yakuza 0 Director's Cut just to play Red Light Raid if you don't have at least a 3-stack. But if you are buying it, it's a nice added bonus to casually play now and then. Now to the meat of this video, which is the cutscenes. For this section, it's kind of impossible to go through it without spoiling the game, so if you haven't played Yakuza 0, just skip to the timestamp on screen. Now there are 5 new cutscenes in the director's cut, and it's honestly a very mixed bag. We start off with undoubtedly the worst cutscene in the game, and the one that has caused the most controversy, the Lee didn't die reveal. This is an underlying problem with the Yakuza games that a lot of people have low-key had a problem with for a while, such as Kashiwagi surviving an actual helicopter attack, or Andre Richardson surviving the drop from the Millennium Tower. But this one is just the most ridiculous, just because how 4K his death was in Yakuza 0. The car actually exploded on him, and we all saw it. and it made zero sense to bring him back, and he wasn't even that big of a character, so there wasn't any fan service heartstrings to tug at with his quote-unquote revival. So it was just an incredibly stupid decision and does put a dent in the story, in my opinion. Another awful thing this cutscene did was mention Makoto's watch and having Majima say that he's planning on getting it fixed. It just really ruins the subtlety of the reveal at the end of the game. That surprisingly isn't the only revival the director's cut does. They also revived the Loan Shark from the start of the game. Now, in fairness, his death wasn't as 4K as Lee's death. They only showed a body bag floating in the river, but it was so heavily implied that he died, so having him revived was also very weird. I mean, I didn't mind it as much as I minded Lee, but I really don't know who these revivals satisfy. I think they keep happening just because Kashiwagi and Andre Richardson's revivals didn't really get a negative reaction from the community, so they're just kind of pushing the boundaries of what they could do. Hopefully the flack that these revivals got from Yakuza 0 Director's Cut will get through to RGG, so we don't see Rikia as a bartender in the next Yakuza game. Now, outside of those two cutscenes, the rest are pretty fun in my opinion, and do actually add something to the game. Now, I liked Majima's call with the cop. It really expanded on Majima and Nishitani's relationship, and also threw in a nice foreshadow to Nishitani III from Like a Dragon Gaiden. The cutscene with Kuze and Kiryu was also really cool. I just love Kuze's character so much, and in my opinion, he's one of the best villains of the whole series, so just to get another 5 minutes of him was great. I think my favorite cutscene is the very last one of Kiryu and Nishiki, where they're kind of just thinking back on everything that happened and laughing and chatting about it. It's very lighthearted, and it's so sick to see Kiryu and Nishiki banter with each other. These kind of Kiryu moments are rare, so seeing it was really awesome. So TLDR are the cutscenes. Some of the added cutscenes ruin aspects of the story, but there are still some very good added cutscenes. Some final things to touch on here. This game does come with a brand new English dub, so if that's your cup of tea, you can play through Yakuza 0 dubbed for the first time ever. In my opinion, I don't really mind anybody's English voice actor with the exception of Kiryu. Yongye was just not a good fit. Kiryu's shoes are far too big for Yongye's feet. Kiryu is such an icon in gaming, so to have his dub pawned off to a YouTuber in one of his first ever voice acting roles, it just feels like such a punch in the gut and just prevents me from playing any English dub with Kiryu in it. Another thing to touch on is that you can now save and load a save from anywhere in the game. You don't have to go to a phone booth, you just pause and then you can save from there. This, surprisingly, is actually an insanely huge quality of life feature. I didn't really remember how annoying it was to go to payphones to save till I played through Yakuza 0 again a year ago. And now just to have it there in the menu, it's just like it should have been done a long time ago, but the fact that it's here is really cool. So overall, is Yakuza 0 Director's Cut worth it? Probably not, unfortunately. I wanted to like this so much, but I just have to be honest here. This isn't a good package for a series veteran or a newbie. If you're a newbie, you will experience some bullshit story decisions and assume it was part of the base game, which will absolutely hinder your enjoyment. If you're a veteran, the cutscenes will piss you off, Red Light Raid has no active players, and the English dub has Yongye in it. I will say, if you own a Switch 2 and like the idea of playing Yakuza 0 on the go, this would absolutely be worth it if you can catch it used or on sale. The game performs very well on the system, and having the novelty of just trying out different characters in Red Light Raid could be worth it for you, but for the full $49.99 price tag, I don't really see how that's worth it. So that's all from me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will say, I did stream my first impressions of the game a few days ago, and I'm planning on doing some more streams in the future, so if that is something that interests you, I never ask this, but just hit the bell notification just to get notified of when I stream and when I upload a video. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Take care.